everybody out there. My name is Lorraine Klagsbrun, and I am an artist. And I have a house in the Berkshires. I live here in Beckett. My background has always been in art. I was a fashion illustrator in the 60s and 70s, and then later on got a degree in museum education. But have been doing art, ever since I'm 8 years old. And through all the various techniques and types of art that I've been doing, which are a lot, just about everything I think I've tried, I kind of landed on doing collage because I find it very satisfying, it's very forgiving, and I feel like I'm building stories. I think my art is basically about telling stories in a visual way. And I'm going to show you some of my woodblock prints first, which I did, I don't know, quite a while ago. I have a press in my studio up here, so I'm able to, make multiples, and so that's always available to me. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of my collages, some of my woodblock prints and where the inspiration came from. So here's one, okay? This is called Sadie and Sam, and you can see it's about 8 by 9, something like that, and it comes from a family photo. Most of my woodblock prints are family photos that I've transferred onto basswood. And I really like the process of carving into wood. I used to do wood carving sculpture using various kinds of tools, and it sort of became natural to transfer it into woodblock prints. So here's one, and here is one on nature, based on nature. This is, again, from a photograph. You could see it right from here. Yeah. And this one is called Sadie and Sam. And this is an aunt of mine and her brother. And she was kind of an important figure in my life. She was my great aunt. And they're at the beach, as you could see. And as I would create these images, I would embellish them and change various things. This is an interesting story because someone commissioned me to do this, and it's herself and her daughter, and there's a shadow of a man over here, like very faint shadow, and that was the father that took the photo, and shortly after he took the photo, he committed suicide. So this was a picture that was very important to her, and I transformed it into a woodcut. She was very happy with it. And here's another nature study, wild geese flying. And that, I think I made that up. A lot of, the nature ones I mainly invented. And here's another one of my Aunt Sadie and me. And she was kind of a scary figure in my life. And I call this one, Are You a Good Witch or a Bad Witch? And I think it captures my sort of helplessness in the universe with her. And this is one of my favorites, I call it Three Graces. And it's actually from a photo. And this was my mother-in-law and her two friends. And it was at a dinner party at someone's house on the Upper West Side. And I thought it was so interesting that they wore strapless evening gowns to a dinner party. And she was kind of fancy. And she's sitting here in the middle, and she looks irritated, and she kind of always looked irritated. So those are my woodblock prints. Now I'd like to move on to I'll show you some of my latest work, my latest collages, and then go through like the story show you some of the collages I've done over the last, 20, 25 years. So this is one that I recently did, and it was from a photo that I took of these two people at a table, and I found myself embellishing it and changing it. And what I love about collage, one of the things I love, is that you could start off anywhere. And I've taught collage, and I really enjoy teaching it, especially to seniors, with any kind of an image. And then once you have a composition, which I think is really important to figure out your composition, it's just, add and subtract. It's all experimentation. And if you make a mistake, you put something over it. So it's the process that goes on, and it is very much to me like building a story. So this, I think, has a story to it. I'm not sure what it is, but there's something going on here. And then these are from the same period. These are some others. So I started with these three kind of weird African mask people because I've been interested in African masks a lot, like Picasso and others, and then embellishing bodies and backgrounds from these kind of weird people. And this one is called Ladies' Night Out, and this was from a photograph that was in the Times. I guess I did this about 2 years ago, of these three women. I think there are three women. Just sitting at a table somewhere with a background, and it looked like they were having a good time, that they were drinking and there was dancing going on in the background. So I used that as an inspiration to do this one. Okay. All right. Now I'll just show you this. So this I did a while ago, and this was another technique. I've traveled quite a bit, and I get very inspired by places I've been. So I did a bunch of these collages. This is actually mixed media from India. And the way I did this was these are actually photographs, and I Xeroxed them, okay, and enlarged them. And so I just started with these three people, a child, a woman, and another woman. And then from there on, I changed their faces, I added collage materials, and then created this background. And the background involves paint, it involves stencils, it also involves oil sticks that I scrape through. And this was from a class, this technique was from a class that I took. And I really like this one. I think, and I call it family, because it's sort of like the multi-generations of Indian families. You see women and children and relatives, and everywhere you go, there are women carrying children in all over, in the rural areas as well as cities. And, I should just mention, this is another one from this more recent period. And it sort of has a Romare Bearden. This is small. It's only 5 by 7. And I'm doing a whole bunch of these because they're fun to do. And all of them have a theme. And the theme is a woman sitting at a table with a window. So it's sort of easier for me when I have a theme to go off on. And I think all of my collages are about women, actually. I think a woman sitting at a table looking out a window is very evocative. I mean, it says a lot. And, are you with somebody else? What are you doing at that table? Are you having coffee? Are you having drinks? Are you looking out the window? Do you wish you were out there? So there's a lot to work with that theme. I kind of just fell upon it recently, and I think I can explore it for a while. Okay, another one from India is this one, which I call this new dress. And we were in South India, excuse me, I'm cold, and in a little rural village, we came upon this little shop, and there were two older women and this young girl who was wearing this dress, which was really hideous, but it was her new dress, and she was so excited, and she had her purse, and she was just so proud of the way she looked. So I try to capture that in this picture. So I try to, when I travel, I do try to, bring back something that I remember, and rather than just having a photo, but transforming into a collage. So I always have something to do, like artists are never bored. And then just a altogether different medium, I've done some of these watercolors of cities. Okay, so these are watercolors and collages. The watercolor is the background, and the collages are done in tissue paper. And there's a lot of overlapping of tissue paper to get other colors, and they have kind of a misty quality. These are small. These are like 6 by 4 or 5. And I like to work small. I cannot work large. It just doesn't happen when I try to do it. So I'd like to go through some of the collages that I've done in the past and talk a little bit about them. Okay, so the first one, I call that Picnic in Prospect Park. And I guess you could see that on the monitor, you folks at home. I always wanted to say that. And it's really of me. I'm on the bottom. My friend Lori is in the redhead, and our 2 children when they were toddlers. And this was like 1,000,000 years ago, like 50 years ago. And we were having a picnic in Central Park, and I cropped the edges so that it would be more abstract. And I like to do that with my collages. So it's not really clear what you're looking at right away. And then you see there are actually people. And it's a story. Okay. All right. This one is a different technique, more like painting and collage and also stencil. I was using a lot of stencils at one time, which I really have fun with. This is a collage, and it's called The Wedding, obviously. And I am the little girl in the wedding. And this is my family, my aunt, my uncle, my parents, my mother's in the red dress, my grandmother, my grandfather. And I've done a couple of different versions of it, and it's all collage. And if I don't know if you could enlarge it a little bit to see, I think it's interesting to see the detail of these. So and it's, by the way, I should mention it's all paper. I only use paper for my collages, and my biggest time-consuming job is finding the right paper. So I have countless little baggies which I've tried to organize paper in, sometimes by color, sometimes by theme, and I have an image of the color I want, the image I want. So I spent a lot of time going through baggies to find the right paper. And for the faces on these, I use pattern paper. So you could see, And they're very time-consuming. And I think I like that kind of work. It's very kind of obsessive work. All right. The next one, okay, it's another with the same process of collage and paint and stencil. And let me get rid of this. Okay, this one is sort of not typical. It's called Waiting for War. And one of the horrible wars that have been going on for the past 5 or 10 or forever years, this was a photograph in the Times. It was very dark, but something about it sparked my interest. And so here I'm going to just go into the detail a little bit, if you could do that. Yeah, so you could see the detail of it. And, you could see they're very laborious. They really take me a while to do. And small. This is about, 8 by 10 or something. So, so it's kind of a serious theme, okay? Kind of serious. All right, the next one. Oh, okay, so this is another example of a collage that I've abstracted. So it was a photograph I took in my living room a while ago, and I made a collage of it. And if you look, you could see there's a little boy, and to his right, a woman with red hair is bending over, serving food. And on the left are a pair of legs, and that's a man sitting on a couch. So I kind of like the not knowing exactly what you're looking at. I love Vuillard and Bonnard. Vuillard is a very big influence for me. his kind of blurring of edges. And speaking of edges, in collage, I vary between using a palette knife and tearing. And using tissue paper, because you could get so many effects. And I used to paint all the time. And I was always frustrated with my painting, and it was never right. And I would go over, and very often I would get mud. But that doesn't happen in collage. You know, everything can be bright and clean and just the way you want it to be. Okay, here's another collage. And these were from drawings that I did at an art studio. I just had 2 drawings, and I made up the background for that. And this is a friend of mine, and you could see the detail of it sitting on a chair. And it really kind of captures her personality, I think, and I gave it to her. And here's another one with 2 women that I drew at an art class and then made up the background. So here they are. And you could see I think my fashion illustration background goes very well with this. I think my figures are very fashion illustration-y. Okay. Okay, another one, an illustration drawing from a class with a mysterious man in the background. So I think this kind of suggests some kind of relationship, some kind of story, but, you know, it's not a definite thing. Could be anything. Let's see. Oh, and this was the one I showed you, the Indian girl. And then when I was in Italy, you know, in northern Italy, I took a lot of photos of buildings and the architecture of churches and old buildings. And so I did a whole bunch of, these are collages of Italian scenes. This was, yeah. And let me see. Yeah, I think I used a lot of tissue paper with overlays, and that's what gives it this kind of gradated feeling, that it's not a solid color. Because you could really affect all kinds of paint images using tissue paper. It's like kind of a new discovery for me. Okay, and all right, then during the pandemic, I did about, I don't know, 10 of these. And this was a different technique. It used wax paper and stencils, okay? And I called them pod families. I think I only have one of them here to show you. But they're very small. They're 5 by 7, something like that. And so you could see it here. Stencils on wax paper with paint, and then you tear up the wax paper and play with it. So this is a family. This is a pod family, because people during the pandemic lived in pods for a while. And I really had fun doing these. They're kind of happy, which is not the way I was feeling, but it was good to do them. Here's another one. Okay, this is another pod family. Yeah, as you could see the stencils very clearly. And here's another one. Oh, I do have more. Oh, and this is what I was also doing printmaking for a while, and this was an etching, an aquatine etching, and it was from a photograph that I took. These round things are not wheels; they're actually the spools that telephone wire are wrapped around. And I was at a workshop, and I couldn't just do the green landscapes. I needed like an object in the landscape, and I came upon these, and then I was happy. I did a painting of that also. And I've also done collages, different kinds of abstract collages. Oh, okay. This is another thing I did during the pandemic. I discovered Yupo paper, which is a glossy paper. It's like plastic coated. And I used colored inks, which would just sit on the surface. They don't absorb into the paper. So they ran. And I did a series of these really insane faces, like a whole lot of them. And that was really fun to do. So as you can see, I'm very varied. Here's another collage. Oh, and then this is the one that I just showed you. 3 women. see what else I have here. Is that it? Oh, no, I have more. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here's another architecture collage. This is from the High Line in New York City, the view from the High Line. Taking a picture from the High Line, and I really like the way this came out. It's kind of bigger. It's like maybe 9 by 12. And this one is a collage, and it's actually of my mother. This is my mother and her older cousin, who died like the day I was born. And the photo had a lot of meaning for me, and it also lent itself very well to a collage. I really like this one. And what I've done, I show my work at a gallery in outside of Lee, the St. Francis Gallery on Route 102. I hope some of you will visit it. It's a wonderful gallery. Philip runs it, and his own work is fabulous. And he really has a good eye for good work, including mine, I should say. But it's really worth stopping in. So I'm giving him a shout out, as they say. So because my work is small and kind of expensive, I had some of these. Here's another one you could see. I had these enlarged. I had prints made of them. Forget the word, prints. They're not like Xerox prints. But this one is called Flight. And this is, Muslim women escaping from wherever they're escaping with their children. And I'm really happy with the way this one came out. But it's smaller, so I had these prints made of them. So I have this one also, a print, and this one of Picnic in the Park. I had an enlargement, a print made of that, and this one too. So this way they become, much more affordable and much more available. Let's see, do I have anything else? No. My website, if anyone wants to check me out, is LorraineKlagsbrun.com. And I have all my information on it. And if anybody has any questions or anything, I'd love to speak to you. I should mention I also do customized collages. I've done a few of those for people. And that's really fun because I love having an assignment, and it just narrows the field a lot. So this was fun, and thanks for tuning in.